so much for having honored our invitation, Honorable Emmanuel Dombo and Honorable Ibrahim Semojunganda. Thank you so much for being here. You are on the spot, gentlemen, and a warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are a news organization, so I'm tempted to start with something that is newsy, and so you can be able maybe to put more context and substance in what I'm going to ask about, and that is the re-election of the primaries in Nyabushozi County, where we understand Mr. Wilson Kajwenje Tuinomujisha has now been declared winner, and yet earlier it was Kanofred Mwesije. Could you please give us more substance for Nyabushozi County?
True. We had our primaries for Nyabushozi County today, purely because the initial elections had challenges, and there was a petition and audit investigation ordered by the chairman of the party. And the findings were that the voting did not take place in some of the villages. There were reports of massive rigging in some of the villages, and there was also voter intimidation in some places. And after the Election Disputes Tribunal going through the processes and the report that had been conducted by the audit committee, it was recommended that in order to get the proper winner, since the voters are there, there's only lining behind the back, it will not cost a lot of money. It was decided that let there be a repeat, and the repeat was ordered today. To us, we are very grateful to the discipline amongst the candidates, because Honorable Kano Mwesije had already been declared and endorsed by the party, only awaiting nomination. But to have accepted to go back to the elections shows you how disciplined the NRM cadres are, especially him being one of the historicals.
He's a Kano, the chairman of the party is a general.
The outcome of the elections is the expression of the will of the people. And for us, we have nothing to do apart from respecting the will of the people, because that's what the constitution of the NRM says. And the constitution of Uganda, because it says the will of the people, the people shall be governed according to the will of the people on how they determine they want to be determined and who their leaders should be. So through an election, the people of Nyabushozi have expressed their will, and I'm sure the flag bearer has been endorsed already, because when we arranged this process to take place today, all the machinery of the party went to Nyabushozi and Mbarara, so that the lawyers went in case there is any election dispute, so that it could be heard ex parte. The Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General went to Mbarara, so that after the elections and there is no dispute, then there must be an endorsement. So we believe in Nyabushozi, tomorrow there will be a flag bearer for NRM who will be nominated.
And that is going to be Wilson Tuinomujisha Kajwenje. So, and does that mean Kano Mwesije is not going to go independent? Will he show the same discipline? That's
a question Kano Mwesije would answer, but given the discipline he has demonstrated, and him being one of the historicals, I know he's going to respect the will of the people, but that one definitely I haven't talked to him, and he can only confirm it himself, or we can only witness until after the nominations. If he hasn't done so, then he will have respected the will of the people.
I just cannot fail to maybe thank you for the honesty that was exhibited in the document which you circulated, telling us about the irregularities you had in the primaries, and somehow you said because of the malpractice and irregularities in primaries of NRM, so they had in some cases to redo the exercise. So and the words they underlined, I'm like, okay, the spokesperson of the party is talking about malpractice and irregularities in the party. And, very few people could shed a light into a problem that you did in your own party, sir.
But there is nothing that was done in hiding, because the media houses were everywhere where the elections were conducted. The chairman of the party expressed his frustration about what had happened in many areas. He deliberately, personally, provided for an audit committee to move around the country to collect information upon which the tribunal bases decisions. We had only one, and some people died in some situations. So it would be foolhardy.
So yeah, I know.
It would be foolhardy of any party spokesperson.
Emmanuel, if people of the same house can just steal in their own house, I wonder what would happen on the village.
No, I don't think this is something that is only limited to NRM. This is a problem of human nature, and I've said it before. When God created mankind, He gave the 10 Commandments. Why do you think He gave them? Was He giving them to NRM? He said, "Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not do this."
Yeah.
Because inherently human beings are capable of doing something bad, especially if the regulatory framework is not stringent enough.
But,
so,
Emmanuel, what I'm saying that I cannot help but just to thank you for you to be able to say, look, we have fallen short of the glory when it comes to the issue of integrity, and so within our house, in our own quarters, there have been multiple irregularities and malpractice in the primaries. And so if that happens for the party that is in power, then we wonder what it's going to be like when you are going to meet other people you have no relation about. But again,
but even that one, Mr. Kamara, I will talk about it. Because people have always wanted to compare the elections in NRM and wondering whether there will be no spillover in the national elections. The challenges and the resources at the disposal of the Independent Electoral Commission and the NRM are not the same. So there are certain things that we should have done at the party which we couldn't because of our resource limitations. For instance, we vote by lining. It is better. It is simpler. But at times, people can use it to intimidate others because you can look behind and see who is not lying behind.
All right. I think there was another issue that is a bit newsy, and that is information coming in from Zimbabwe. It appears you have overturned the victory of Sodo Kaguta, who is supposed to have trounced Shatis Musharude. So what is the executive top organ of the party's decision on that issue?
In NRM, there are the various channels of decision making. The elections and democracy, the decision is by the people in the villages. Anybody who may not be satisfied has an opportunity to make an appeal or a petition to the Election Disputes Tribunal. And that is provided for and guaranteed. That's why you see in Yabusozi, we had to send our lawyers to be present so that they could, in case there is something like that, they will do it. In the Zimbabwe issue, Shasi Musherure Kutesa did petition the Election Disputes Tribunal, and the dispute was heard. She had the complaints about the major complaints. One of the complaints was that
what I really want to know, Emmanuel, without going into the specifics of the complaint, you have overturned Sodo's election.
That's what I was telling you.
And now nominations are on. So are you going to present Musharure or Sodo tomorrow because the nominations ended tomorrow?
The tribunal recommended that because there wasn't elections in about 7 of the villages, it was difficult to tell who the winner was. And they recommended this matter to the Central Executive Committee for it to make a final verdict. Either may order a re-election or it may guide as the committee decides.
A re-election on the final day of the nomination?
Absolutely. There was an election today. It is part of the nominations. If there is an election tomorrow, for instance, if they say that we'll go for elections tomorrow.
So SEC is sitting tonight?
SEC may sit in the morning. It may sit tomorrow.
You're a member of SEC. You have no idea?
No, I have no idea. I have no idea that it's sitting.
That's incredible. So sometimes you have no idea that you speak for the same organization.
No, of course I get the idea. And I will always know.
You just said you have no idea.
If the chairman calls for SEC in the morning, it can sit. If the chairman calls for SEC in the afternoon,
it's coming to midnight. The party spokesperson has no idea whether SEC is sitting tomorrow to resolve an issue that has a deadline.
Absolutely, no SEC has been called for tomorrow, but SEC can be called for tomorrow in the morning. It has happened before. The decision for us to go for elections in Yabusozi, the meeting was called yesterday. A decision was made. and the deployment was made.
Yes, so
announcements were made.
Your modus operandi,
and elections.
Your modus operandi is haphazard.
It's not haphazard. This is a reaction and a response because of the circumstances who have been put in because of the COVID.
Okay.
And you know that we have lost time as a party and as a country because of what has been happening. You know the violence which took place in Zimbabwe and the elections were postponed.
Okay.
Under the circumstances, you would sympathize.
If you allow me,
the circumstances under which we operate, even when we can be able to deliver what we have delivered.
If you can allow me, Latitude, I need to move on because I started with those issues because we're a news organization.
Absolutely, that's the news now.
And that was the news. And allow me to welcome with us here another guest, another panelist, a woman of substance, a woman of valor, a fighter. I have always known her as a fighter of truth and justice. I don't know whether I can still say that. The Honorable Betty Namboze, thank you so much for having joined us. And as you can see, you have a different chair. Yours is very unique, but also that is a result of the sacrifice and the struggle that you have been in. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me, and Honorable Ibrahim Semoju Nganda, now you have a party flag bearer in the name of your own party president. And but let me start it like this. Unfortunately, again, I'm going to start like this so that you guys can also have a reaction to what happened just yesterday. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Uganda is also a contender in this election. But his forces went and besieged the headquarters of a rival party just 1 day before the nomination. Emmanuel, it smells of harassment, it smells of dictatorship, it smells of people who are running scared of the new kids on the block. For people who are looking at you and following the events on Uganda, it's a stain on our democracy. Why did that happen?
The commander-in-chief, even when he's a candidate and is a member of the NRM, he is the president of Uganda. And the resources that are put at his discretion and information is private to a commander-in-chief and may allow him to make certain decisions as a commander-in-chief given to the intelligence information that he receives. If he did, or if he ordered this because of the intelligence information he had received, I think the police spokesperson or the military spokesperson will be notifying the country about what happened. But you know he's the commander-in-chief, even when he is a candidate also. But these are responsibilities and duties he must do and undertake as the president of Uganda.
Do you, as senior members of the party, think it is justifiable a day before nomination to actually take more or less like a whole brigade, besiege a small place like Kamocha? People could just have walked there. You could have walked up there and then asked the people what you want. Besiege the whole place. Try to do what you did in the middle of an election, in the middle of a nomination. Tomorrow, if they fail to get the signatures they have, for them to be able to qualify for the nomination, that is on you.
I'm very sure they must have taken record.
That's on you, Emmanuel.
They must have taken record of the things that were confiscated because there are procedures on how police must conduct its operations, and when they do confiscate issues, they must take note of. I don't think any credible police officer would want to go to Kamwich and confiscate the signatures of the political party. But because I don't speak for the police, I wouldn't exactly say that because I don't know exactly, I haven't looked at the list of the things that were confiscated. But like I say, the president of Uganda, who is
as an individual, does it concern you? Do you feel like this is bad? It projects you the image of a country, the image of a democracy in a bad way?
No, what I know is that
it doesn't?
The police owes the public an explanation as to what has happened. Because this is a democracy, there is freedom, and they must provide the information so that the suspicion you're having and the suspicion any other person would have can be quenched given the information that will be provided.
We have a senior member of the National Unity Platform with us, the Honorable Betty Namboze. Probably you can put it into context. What exactly happened? And what did they tell you? What were they looking for? What maybe have you lost in the raid? And what you have lost, is it recoverable even in the remaining just a few hours to nomination close?
Unfortunately, I don't have all the details here with me, because yesterday was quite a very busy day for some of us, well knowing that today we are going into nominations, and it's as if it is a must that if you belong to the opposition, you should never take a risk to go for nomination on the last day, because anything can happen, and then you will have
for you have learned the hard way. You have to go early.
We have learned the hard way, and we have told even our, if you want to call them junior supporters, the young people who are joining us. So we were very busy, especially me. I was very busy in Mukono. I'm in charge of 4 districts: Mukono, Kayunga, Buyikwe, and Buvuma Islands. So I didn't get the details. But what happened, we had a meeting, a press conference in Mukono. So as the press conference was going on, then news started coming in through the social media. And you know, the things which happened, you can't even imagine that in this 21st century, when you are dealing with a president who has been in power for 35 years, and if you are Betty Namboze, and you saw that man when he was coming in to lead Uganda, and the things he used to say, defining properly and explaining the problem of Africa, partly as being caused by leaders who overstay in power. The way President Museveni wrote about Milton Obote and the 1980 elections, and the way he wrote about Binaisa's government, which turned, in his words, which turned the State House into just a center for cutting deals. So if you knew that Museveni, that particular president who used to take all our children who were finishing senior 6 through Chankwanzi, so that one, he was preferring a Uganda with a population that is civically competent. So the mere fact that people invaded in broad daylight the headquarters of a political party that is only 3 months old, led by a person, because for me, I move with what the president says. You see, all of a sudden, all of us became Museveni's grandchildren. So if you are that old, if you are that senior, and you want to attack a political party that was formed only yesterday, and you are using the Uganda police force, and then when you invade the I was following in social media, there was a live video, and I saw those people carrying machines to cut down doors, and eventually you see we are doing all that without a warrant.
So you know
that we are doing all of that to reclaim what belongs to us. And who are you? Uganda People Defense Forces. Sorry. If Muhoz, you can lead an army in Uganda that is not, you see, I remember one military officer, I was in parliament, he died about 2-3 years ago. You know, whenever he would meet you, Oketa, he would salute you and say, ever,
our civilian leaders,
ever respectful to our civilian leaders. And he would emphasize that the army is supposed to subject itself to the leadership of the people.
It's a pity he died a sudden death almost.
Sure. But then, an army in this 21st century to invade premises of a political party that was so bad. And for us, they told us that they came to claim their clothes, their ballots, but I don't know the overalls, and you know, the contention is on the ballot. The ballot for now, all registration centers nominating candidates in Uganda disallow candidates to present photographs that will appear on the ballot paper when the person submitting that took the photo with a ballot. EC, Electoral Commission, says that no, we shall not allow you to do this. But the same Electoral Commission will allow Museveni to be in his heart, and he always calls himself the man with the heart.
Okay.
What is happening? Maybe I need to say something about that. President Museveni knows what he has done to this country, that the country is not civically competent. There is no effort that has been put up to educate the voters. So voters' education completely out. People, like in this particular election we are going into, the majority of the voters in this election have never voted before. If you are to consider that this category, so the category with majority of them being young people have never been for any election. This is going to be their first election, and nobody is sensitizing them. Nobody is giving them information about how to vote. So Mr. Museveni, what he did, he will always make sure that he's the only man with a heart. Two, he will always make sure that either he's at the top of the ballot paper or at the very bottom. And you see, one person recently said that we don't know what Mr. Museveni will do if one Zake decides to compete for presidency, because the alphabetical order would put Zake at the bottom of what? Of the ballot paper. So Mr. Museveni would most probably get another name and swear a deed poll, and then present himself as Zavuga or Zephania, something like that, so that he can compete with Zake.
After all, changing names now seems to be in the vogue.
So it is all this is because the voters have not been sensitized. So cunning politicians like His Excellency, the President of Uganda, will do all within their means to occupy a position that can be, that you can whisper to a voter and say, you go and take the man with a heart.
Thank you.
Let me finish
this.
Just one minute. You can vote for the man with a heart. He is the very last on the paper. One time, Senkubuge, you remember this one who's going to stand for the Lord Mayorship on the DP ticket? He was once a presidential candidate, and we could serve it that he was forced out of the election just because his name, Senkubuge, was putting him at that number which Mr. Museveni wants to always, it is now very clear that Mr. Museveni will always come last on the ballot paper. So the people you haven't taught, it is easy to direct them that you go and vote the last person on the ballot paper. So Mr. Museveni today will be a Yoweri, the other day he will be a Zakayo, the other because of that.
He's now at Haburwa.
Yes. So
okay,
it is so bad that you deny citizens knowledge, and for you cunningly you devise ways of placing your name at a point on the ballot paper that can easily be identified. So all that, whatever happened at Kamocha is part of the struggle Mr. Museveni has put up to ensure that he's the only identifiable person on a ballot paper.
All right, Honorable Samujunganda, according to how Betty started, giving the history, the political history of President Museveni from the 80s to today, and I'm sure you've been a journalist, we work together in the news. You're still a journalist, work together in the newsroom. And do The Museveni of today, or should I even say Tibuhaburwa? Is that the name he has taken now? Also part of? Is it officially his name? Is Tibuhaburwa officially the name of the chairman?
Absolutely, because it was.
So it's General Tibuhaburwa.
But did the NRM nominate Tibuhaburwa, or you sent a candidate to EC, and then that candidate together with the Electoral Commission,
if General Tibuhaburwa
changed his names?
Honorable Samoju,
could be our response to that when the time comes.
If General Tibuhaburwa Yoweri Kaguta Museveni meets the Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of 1986, don't you think those two individuals could fight until tomorrow?
First of all, the two matters, the invasion of the NUP offices and the disqualification of NRM candidates, point to one thing that you're talking about. We go into an exercise, all of us knowing that it is personally controlled by an individual. The Electoral Commission had set Monday this week, Monday, as the date for nomination of Parliament. And because the NRM tribunal had matters to deal with, nomination had to be extended, no, not extended, had to be postponed to Thursday to accommodate. Because if we had gone with a Monday, probably Sodo will be a candidate, will be an NRM candidate, and maybe Kanofred Mwesige will be a candidate. But because General Tibuhaburwa runs the entire electoral process, the Electoral Commission had to postpone the election by 3 days to allow what he has just described to happen, for him to get Sodo disqualified. These tribunals, you think, in the case of Fred Mwesige, they say, okay, you can have an election. In the case of Sodo, because these are family matters, if the family is angry, let me tell you, I have covered Museveni and his family. When the wife declared that she wants to be a candidate, I think she must have taken the husband by surprise, because he made all the attempts. At one time, walking out of a second meeting and asking Chigongo to preside over, so you help me with also my matter of Qatar. I don't want her to stand. And then when Qatar appeared before SEC chaired by Chigongo, she says, I was sent by God. So if you are uncomfortable, I will be independent. So the reason I have gone into that history is to discuss the tragedy we are in as a country. All of us go into an exercise. All our lives are run by an individual. So in this matter of Kutesa and Kaguta, there should be no winner. But a winner had emerged through an election, certainly causing problems to a family. So the best way is to say there is no winner, so each one of you can go, we are not siding with anyone, and that has happened. But the Electoral Commission had to postpone elections for him to declare no winner in Zimbabwe and to get rid of Colonel Fred Mwesige, one of the 27 NRM people who went to Ruwero, but was a lieutenant colonel for almost his entire career until when he was retired and added the one rank of a colonel. And so these matters have to be so that takes you to NUP. Mr. Museveni, you will compete against him. He will determine how you will compete against him. If they tell him, or if he finds out that you are going to cause this trouble, he will come and remove the trouble, and you remain with no trouble. On polling day 2016, our offices in Najjanankumbi were raided. Why? Because we said we are correcting all declaration forms and you are going to inform the country. They invaded our offices, Rete and Felix Kawes of police took our declaration form, dismantled our printer. We had a functioning printer donated to us, which we are using to print campaign materials for the FDC. Now we have to source that service because Kawes dismantled the printer, took computers and people who were operating them. And that office remained occupied for more than a month. we couldn't access the FDC offices. So that's how the country is run. That this entire process is going to be controlled by one person. If he says you should be beaten, you're going to be beaten. You saw the nominations that we went through today. While the NRMs will have procession for you, even if you have less than 1% of the entire electorate, you're going to be beaten. More than 60% of my people are in prison and vehicles towed.
Even me.
I don't know how they identified them from other vehicles that were on the road, but they towed them. So this is an election we go in. At least in the FDC, we treat these elections as another platform for struggle, not an end in itself. Because otherwise, if it was an end, we would have abandoned the whole exercise. But you continue battling until such a time when you are able to break the dictatorship. So I want to sympathize with colleagues who are in NUP that as they prepare to nominate candidates for parliament, their offices are under siege. We've gone through this. I know how it can disorganize the entire process. General Muntu was still the president. You don't know whether you go and meet at his home. We are meeting in hotels, yet we have a headquarters. Because the staff who are running the headquarters know where all these things are. Now they are in prison. So you begin, where do we start? No, the cow is arrested. No, the one who operating this is under arrest. So that's what has befallen our country. That even when you think that Mr. Museveni is in full control, he wants to excessively exercise power. And I remember Andrew Mwenda, my friend, one time telling me, I'd been bundled on pickups many times, and he said, you see, you should stop that. You'll think that Mr. Museveni, his image is going to be dented. And I said, he doesn't care. So that he actually enjoys it. When he sees policemen, when he sees his competitor being harassed and tortured, that he enjoys it, he will laugh, he will be happy. He will even pick another cup of bushera. So Mwenda was advising me that please do not make yourself available for that exercise, thinking that there will be dividends to pick because you will dent the image of Museveni. He doesn't care about it. So therefore, what you are describing...
if you could stop there,
yes.
Emmanuel, maybe, because the president the other day said when he looked through how what had happened in Arua, what happened to Chagula, he said they had actually beat him properly. Probably he has a right that he can enjoy this thing that the man had been beaten properly.
The president was in Arua, I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
so
to see a guy who came out, the man who was vibrant, strong, doing his thing in Arua, to come out being helped to walk and needing to go to hospital in Western Europe, and the head of state said on record that no, he was beaten properly.
You see, we were one time on the show here with Honorable Norbert Mao, and he said the people who guard presidents, or who guard the Pope, or who guard any head of state, are not people to play with. Because in circumstances in Uganda, perhaps they use the sticks, and in some situations they use guns. They can shoot and kill, because of the various trainings and instructions that they get. But because I was not in Arua, I'm not very privy to exactly what happened. But when you read in the papers and the reports we got, it was reported that some of those young men did some provocative things to the SFC. And they exercised the out of restraint even when there was somebody who was shot and died. So it is not something that anybody will be proud about. But also, it's not good to be proud about attacking a head of state. Yeah.
You see.
Okay. I don't want to go back that, but of course, none of us was there. But at least we know, guns, AK-47, were put in a room that where the Honorable Chagulanyi was supposed to be, and they said these were his guns, and the same guns now disappeared.
Yeah, but you see the point.
They turned out not to be his.
The point the Honorable Dombo makes.
That looked strange, and
there are many things that looked strange, sir.
You see the point that the Honorable Dombo makes. Major General Matayo Charigonza, in one of your SEC meetings, I don't know if you had become a member of that organ of your party then, advised the head of state how to conduct yourself when you are head of state. There are many things that you need to excuse yourself. And he started by advising him, everywhere I hear they have shot a person dead, you go running. And he actually brought that exam. That in Arua, where you say they stoned your vehicle, you go at the crime scenes, assuming something happens to you. If so much havoc was wreaked because of stones, what will happen if something bad has happened by these guards of yours? Obote was shot at. He didn't kill a village. So Mr. Museveni is not the only head of state. Now imagine if it is him who had been shot at in Rugogo. Even the man who shot at Obote, I don't know if he has died now. They just arrested him and they allowed him life. Now just imagine if it is Museveni who had been shot at. So the head of state either must excuse himself from some responsibility that are going to expose him, where he will have to use full force, or when something happens to him, he has to conduct himself maybe the way Obote conducted himself when he was shot at.
Though one thing I need to say, as a head of state, he's the vanguard of excellence, he's the fountain of honor, and he should be protected at all times. Nothing should happen to him. At least not throw. If you disagree with him, you should disagree with him.
When you're head of
with
state,
respect.
you must.
You say,
that should be.
Honorable Sebunyu, that one is easier said than done. Because even the things he has said that the M7, what you were saying that the M7 of 1986, if he meets the M7 of the current, what would happen? I want to tell you that the president, when he came in 1996, there was no multipartism.
It was 86.
86. There was no multipartism here. The people were very obedient and listening. The same Jews were not there. They were not saying these words. They were not saying these provocative words on media. Even Honorable Sebunyu himself, when he was a journalist, there are things he used to defend. Oh, he used to attack me when I was in Parliament and was in the studios, which now the times have changed, he defends, and I was surprised about when he does them. Not that he has changed, but progressively as you execute your work, subsequent issues that happen, new legislation, new environment, new players, and new laws, create an environment that you must respond to given the times that
other things can change, but your character, your values, your integrity,
and you see the Honorable Dombo
should remain constant.
And they have not changed.
No, those
have not changed.
Honorable
But
Dombo,
for you, as a civilian, to go and attack a presidential motorcade, what values will you be depicting? If we have to go by what was reported.
And
supposing you are the one who was
and
the president.
What was also reported was that the Honorable Chagulanyi had an AK-47, and I know Dombo, you know that was a pure lie.
But
why
the military?
Why should we believe
the military which said it?
Why should we believe the stoning when the AK-47 story was a fabrication?
Because it was corroborated by some.
Another matter is
okay,
what was the presidential convoy doing in the by-election of Valua?
The president is the chairman of NRM. And as the president of NRM and chairman of NRM, he must help the flag bearers of NRM solicit for votes. It was a campaign.
Don't we have a law that disallows public servants from using the facilities of their offices to do partisan politics?
Including the president? Does that law exist?
No, you see, in a country where you have reasonable people.
No, even in America, but President Trump uses his Air Force One to go and do.
Okay.
To go on a campaign for a single candidate in a by-election.
Absolutely, he has done it always.
Okay, Emmanuel.
So
Ibrahim.
if you haven't known, just know that happens.
It is that one thing you want to copy from America?
No, we have copied many things from America.
Ibrahim.
Why should we copy
Emmanuel,
that?
Ibrahim and Betty, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests this evening are Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, Honorable Ibrahim Semuju Nganda, and Honorable Betty Namboze. Betty, the two of you today went for nomination. Perhaps it's important to know, because there were different experiences in different districts. What was your experience like today?
See, I've gone through a difficulty. One scholar said that if the only tool you have is a hammer, you look at every problem as a nail. Mr. Museveni prides himself in being one of the people who are excellent in the military area. So, Mr. Museveni will do all in his means to make every operation in Uganda a military operation. As a candidate, I have got more instructions from police than Electoral Commission so far. And today when I went for the nomination, I asked the district registrar that I want to know who particularly is in charge of this election. Is it police? Because police in Mukono today dictated on what people should put on. So if you are putting on red or a ballot, you would be arrested. Police dictated the load you were supposed to take, especially for Betty Namboze, not other candidates. And they found me at church. Father Sebitogo was leading us in prayers, and those people threw tear gas inside the church. In the church. We are less than 20 people there because the priest said we shall allow.
Police fired a tear gas canister in a church.
In a church. And I saw my priest struggling with pain. Reverend Father Sebitogo. After the church, I decided to move towards EC. By that time, they were arresting young people. They were confiscating borders. And they had a truck. They would chase away these young men and then pick their motorcycles and take them. After EC, they dictated on what load I should take back home. First of all, I was told,
which means you are violating the rules of the Electoral Commission. Why were you having a procession then?
Listen to this. They told me that I was not supposed to step in the town center of Mukono anyway. That I was supposed to be at my home. Even if I had committed a crime. For every person who commits a crime, are we supposed to throw tear gas at that person? Why is it that Betty Namboze, one, don't get arrested as Betty Namboze, or summoned to police to answer charges in relation to the laws she has broken? Instead, you go on the streets, beat up people, harass them, arrest them, detain them, steal from them. Because you see, the number of people by this evening who were telling me that I've lost my phone, we are so many. And there was this police commander called the Chief Ude. At one time I told him that there is also another called Aloch. I told him, I'm going to report you. I'm going to take you to court in your individual capacity. Because with my own eyes, I saw that officer picking tear gas and, spraying a face of a young man. One of the boys they arrested before me was so seriously beaten to the extent that I found myself also crying. So it is so hard being a candidate on the opposition in Uganda today. It is like it.
I understand.
I'm supposed to stand against colleagues. But in Uganda, in Mukono today, in Chira today, it is Betty Namboze versus Uganda versus Betty Namboze. Uganda versus Semuju Nganda. All the institutions of government descends on you, and it was so annoying that other candidates like Honorable Chibule came with their people and even went in a convoy. For me, I don't think that was bad.
Understand
it
there was tear
proper
gas at your own home, is that true?
Yes, these people followed me up to my home. And unfortunately, my young children, when they started, when, you know, the gunshots, for them...
Gunshots at your home?
Yes, they locked themselves inside the house. And these people threw tear gas inside my house. It took some brave boys to break into my house through a window to save my children. And even children at the neighborhoods. We went in, I and my people, not many of them, we went into, I have a playing field adjacent to my home. You know, people were seated there, one is seated here, the other one is seated. You know, we were trying to observe the SOPs. But even then, those people came, see people, a few people were supposed to eat at my place. The food was spoiled. You know, people were arrested. And tomorrow, most probably, I will spend the whole day at police trying to bail out these people, trying to recover the motorcycles that have been
impounded.
So the mentality of Mr. Museveni, whenever we go for elections, is the mentality of the army. First of all, he will make sure that every item you do in Uganda becomes a military operation. So what we have for 2021 is a military operation in the form of elections.
Okay. All right.
And you know, we in the politics deal with opponents. The army deals with enemies. And now when police comes and the army, this joint force treats us as enemies of Uganda. You are enemies. And you know, that mentality of the army is that if you are an enemy, you should be eliminated.
Okay, okay, Honorable Ibrahim, I don't know whether your story for today is any different, but if it is the same, you can just say the same.
It isn't, you see, I think police has a problem distinguishing between a convoy and a procession. Because I was in a convoy going for nomination.
But what did the Electoral Commission tell you to how to appear there? Because they said 2 cars with not more than 3 people in the car, including the driver.
The Electoral Commission has a gazetted place for nomination. In that place, even my wife was being stopped. I had to plead with them. So I arrived to the table of the Electoral Commission, and within the premises gazetted for nomination with only 3 people. So I observed the rules of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission does not exercise power over roads and which vehicles are moving. You will see Mr. Museveni going in a convoy. So there is a difference between a convoy and a procession. I was in a convoy, and there can be a convoy. You will never know sometimes that this is a convoy. And they tear gassed me.
Does that look like a convoy? But
yes.
This is a serious procession. These are hundreds of people.
It's not a procession. People are going to board their vehicles.
Honorable Ibrahim, you are violating the requirements of the Electoral Commission. People are going to the nomination with only 2 people who should be there.
No, are those the EC offices?
That is a road. It's not EC offices gazetted.
But these are your supporters. These are way beyond what the Electoral Commission is talking about.
What crime did they commit?
Most so, when our colleagues from NRM
gathering in one place, in support of you, with no social distancing, with no masks on them, that is against the standard operating procedures that you want to follow.
So they only work on nomination. I have a market in Chireka that has 1,800 people.
2 mistakes don't make it right, Ibrahim.
No.
That is not. In fact, the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission was in that chair yesterday, and he was telling you he had given you guidelines. This is not what
human beings are supposed to be subjected to same standards. The moment you waive them for others, I actually told the NRM people after their elections that I have learned that it is possible to do it.
So you want to fault the SOPs because somebody else has faulted them too?
I cannot be the only one observing them. But why should I?
That does not make it right.
And then it's an example that it is possible.
You can be the only one who stands out as being right.
No.
What's wrong with that?
I don't have to believe in all the regulations.
Yeah,
but if all of us are observing them, I cannot make myself... And I cannot make myself...
Are those T-shirts?
Are those T-shirts? You need to ask them. So the point I am making is that the moment you set up standards, everybody must observe them. The things I did, my procession is half the procession of Anita. I didn't see her being tear gassed.
When?
I didn't see her.
No, the other one which came out.
Primaries.
My convoy was a small.
Oh,
one.
the Minister for Health.
Yes. So why should I be the only one observing the procedures?
Because
of
we
COVID?
expect you to be the only one who is going to be right. Who's the only one who is
But
going
Mr.
to observe.
Kamala,
Because
Mr.
we expect
Kamala.
you to be a man of substance.
You
Mr.
see,
Kamala,
I made
Honorable
this point.
When they go low, you go high.
I made
That's what we expect you to do.
I made this
Honorable.
point even in Parliament, that the moment we accepted to go into an election, there is no I'm going to stop people. First of all, I only wanted to wave at them, and then they joined. So what do you want me to do? Because I had a few vehicles that I was living with.
In Mukono, it's the same area. I'm the MP from Mukono Municipality. Honorable Chibule is the MP from Mukono North. We are in the same area. Today, Honorable Chibule has traveled with his people from his constituency to the EC offices and back. He wasn't tear gassed. But when it came to Betty Nambos, she was tear gassed together with her people, and many of them were arrested, and others have been beaten so terribly that I even suspect some might die.
Emmanuel, clearly, there are many instances where police, instead of doing their policing, they're busy politicking on behalf of the NRM. It's wrong.
If what Honorable Namboze has described here is correct, that he was in a church, a sacred place, they were having mass, and the police threw tear gas inside, and they were not violating any regulations, either COVID or public order management regulations, then that is very unfortunate. And the Inspector General of Police owes the people of Mukono an explanation and perhaps an apology, especially to the ministers of the church, because the church is a sacred place. But I don't know the circumstances, because going by the words of Honorable Namboze, you just find that there is something that is unsaid.
What is
because
that?
she told you in the neighborhood of my home, there is a playing field. Some people were seated there, and they were supposed to eat some food at home.
What is wrong with that?
That shows you that there must have been a gathering prepared in the field for whom we had prepared a meal, and most likely this could have been. It's basically a situation. I wasn't there, but from Howard's you find that there could have been a violation of the regulations set either by the police under the COVID regulations or by the Electoral Commission on who should go for the nomination and how people should go. I was joking with Mr. Semujunganda.
That.
When I was driving from Mukono, I stayed in Mukono, and Honorable Namboze is my MP.
I'm feeling so sad. Those people almost killed my son today.
This morning.
I'm feeling so sad that brother.
This morning, just a moment. This morning when I was coming, I entered a convoy of or a procession.
No, a convoy, not a procession.
A procession of Honorable Semuju from Boyogerere. Actually, if they had been tear gas in the middle, I would have been part of the procession because I was on the public road driving Kampala. I saw then I thought people were likely to get infected with COVID. I rang my brother Semuju, but I said that under that circumstances, there is no way. First of all, the noise and the hype. He couldn't pick my phone, but I want to tell him that, are you sure? Are you safe? But hardly had I moved away when I was in my office, then I saw on TV.
Maybe you also rang the police.
No, I wouldn't. I saw the police that people were being tear gassed, and I had expected that given the numbers, anything was capable of happening. But ordinarily, when the police creates a selective treatment of the people who have committed the same offense, you create injustice, you create ill feeling, you create a bad feeling amongst people who should be talking with one another.
But that's the norm. That's the norm in this town.
And I want to tell you that in many cases, this is not something that is sanctioned by anybody, but it is a speculative reaction by poor judgment by at times the police officers
It has become a culture
on duty who fail to appreciate or who may have preconceived feelings in their mind that because of the words Honorable Nambozi uses against the president or against the Inspector General of Police, that could be when they get that as an opportunity, they want to create,
which words?
To make her feel.
Honorable
So,
Dombo,
this,
can I ask you?
No, just a moment.
What have you just said?
So
Because
this becomes...
these are political leaders. They don't. They're not supposed to agree. The others are public servants.
No,
what has that got to do?
That's what I'm telling you, that because of that, the police makes poor judgment. And you have seen it. What would you call it?
So police...
Would you call it good judgment?
So police would feel, wronged when Honorable Nambozi criticizes the NRM?
I would fail to understand why the police, who was given guidelines, would create selective treatment of the same people when he was
because
given the same
you,
guidelines.
the spokesperson of NRM, said because people like Honorable Nambozi, the words they say against maybe the NRM can make the police get angry.
I'm telling
Is
you
that what you're saying?
This is a speculative. I've not asked any policeman, but you have asked me to talk why the police is tear gassing them. I don't give them instructions.
Yeah, but the spokesperson of the party thinks they could be tear gassing you because you talk ill of the government.
Absolutely.
That's how you can even speculate.
No, this is speculation. Would you prevent somebody from speculating?
Yeah, but your speculation is showing us the kind of mind that you have
And
on the political.
It is not kind of mind. I'm asking myself, because the police has the same operating standards. Why would they?
And then maybe
Why would they? Just
Kamara, I think
Mr. Kamara, just a moment. Why would the same police? I was looking here in Kampala. I saw the daughter of Haj Gongo going for nomination on some
standing on
truck, what's the truck excavator?
Excavator, yes.
Oh, excavator, and I saw many
back
people
home.
following. So I was wondering, why did the police, did they fear Haj Gongo's name as a person? Did they fear, were they compromised? Because they are human beings, anything can happen. We have seen these accusations. Because I was asking, why would they do such a thing when they had just been tear gassing Senegal? And these are all Ugandans operating under the same regulations and rules.
You see.
So as you're wondering, I was kept wondering too.
But maybe you should also assist me with this.
Please.
Yesterday, I saw in the social media, somewhere in Busoga, people, gun-wielding men, dressed in yellow. And you see, I couldn't even bring myself to understand how exactly armed people dressed in a partisan way would carry guns around and we are enforcing law and order somewhere in Busoga. Have we reached that level that NRM cadres, supporters in the village are now armed against society?
I wasn't in Busoga, I wouldn't know, but I also saw on the same social media people who had toy guns that had been manufactured and in Busoga, which looked like guns. And the police arrested and apprehended them. They were putting on yellow. For them, they thought it was a joke. But the regulations that govern armed equipment are very clear, that even when you have a toy and somebody has fire and he shoots you in anticipation that you could as well shoot him, that is enough defense for. So those people were arrested, by the way.
They were toy guns.
They were toy guns made out of wood, but specifically painted like they were guns. And they have been arrested. And the same social media showed it. Unless you saw a different picture.
No, I will go and make more research about it.
You may want to share, because social media doesn't.
But it is not out of ordinary that you will find people in civilian clothes carrying guns.
No, so in your view, Honorable Ibrahim, as we go into this election of 2021, do you see us as a country, as a democracy, degenerating further into chaos, or are we making it even stable, or we are in one position? Because we are supposed to be advancing at least.
When the J. Rawlings party lost the elections in Ghana, they sat in a meeting, some of them, and they wanted to ask the military to help them. The chief of staff there, the chief of staff is the highest ranking in their military. As they were in a meeting planning, they heard that he has gone to the opposition and is congratulating them. So I met one of them who is now the Secretary General of that party. He's now in the opposition, and he said, you see, it was game over. In Uganda, we have two problems. And the Honorable Dombo knows, but he wants to academically deal with this matter. I don't want to blame the ordinary policemen. When in the barracks, in the last election of 2016, in Naguru here, President Museveni lost. Policemen had to explain why did he lose. And the soft target were the civilians who live here, women, what. So they had to remove all the structures that were housing civilians so that the president does not lose in a police barracks. And you know, in the police barracks, there are many people. I remember when I was in Monitor, we published a document that had been published by Leopold Chanda. Leopold Chanda was the commander of SFC, then I don't know whether he's now in charge of land forces. Land forces, yeah. In his documenting the military, why they must vote and campaign for NRM. So these ordinary policemen are under immense pressure. If they don't beat the opposition, there will be no rank. They will even be asked questions to answer. That's why sometimes because of that pressure, they act the way they do. In fact, me, I sympathize with them. When you interact with them, many of them are very good people and they are very good intention. But some of their supervisors do the same job like Dombo. So I remember when Bakareke arrested me, he actually picked me from my home and he was taking me to Nagarama. So he went quarreling with the OC of Chireka and Weoge. Why are you treating somebody like a bridegroom? This guy must aggressively arrest him. And because these ones had arrested me in a fair way, that MP, you're under arrest, please can you board, we go. And I did. Because me, I don't usually argue with policemen. If they tell me board, I'll board. Because it serves everybody. So the moment you undermine institutions of the state, to earn a job, you must be a royalist. To get a promotion in police, you must sing NRM praises. I am reluctant to join Dombo in lambasting policemen for selective application of the rules. I want to deal with the real problem. The real problem is someone who wants to stay in power until he dies. All the institutions of the state, be it parliament, must help him. That's why we were invaded and beaten. It was not a decision by police. You, Dombo, you remember when you were in parliament, what did he say? He said, this is my parliament, I can come and pick you there. You have forgotten when you are our commissioner. The moment you deal with someone who is
when we
drunk,
lost
yes, when he's drunk with the power, be it parliament, be it police, all the institutions of the state are supposed to aid him. So these policemen that you have seen tear gassing in Nambo's Honorable, even me at home, there was tear gas. Today, when we returned, there are people who were unable to go because of tear gas. So they were waiting to welcome me back. Because nomination is a big thing. That now you are officially allowed to go and compete. So I met people, the neighbors. They told them to go away. But these are my neighbors. So they started firing tear gas all over the place, in the gardens, everywhere. One of the neighbors sent me a message. He said, but I hear a gunshot. There's this one, is it a teaser something? It's not necessarily, they're not firing bullets, but it's very scaring. So until Mr. Museveni has accepted competition or has accepted that you can defeat it and leave power, institutions of the state are going to act under immense pressure, and that's how I see policemen reacting to this situation.
Ibrahim, Betty, and Emmanuel, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll be opening the lines. You'll see the numbers on the screen there. Please, you can pick, you can call us, tell us what you have seen, what your experience has been in any part of Uganda where you have been, or what you support or don't support on the ideas and the experiences of the hosts, of my panelists that I have tonight. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests tonight are Honorable Betty Namboze, Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, and Honorable Emmanuel Dombo. In fact, somebody is trying to remind us about the own inconsistency of your own electoral commission. Here is what they did. Notification of NRM flag bearer. This is to formally present to you, I think, Kalisa Morin, Jovrin Chomukama, to be the district woman flag bearer for Uganda, endorsed, stamped, signed by Dr. Tango Doi. The same person, another person endorses another candidate as a flag bearer for the same constituency, stamped, signed by the Honorable Kijaji Arimpa John, Deputy Chairperson, NRM Electoral Commission. You know,
this is
how you have played your game. Even if, you know, it has been messy in your mass party.
Even in the Independent Electoral Commission, Honorable Katinti was elected and declared, and he was sworn in government. He was petitioned by NRM.
That was robbery.
That's how he lost the seat in Parliament.
Did he?
And that's how Honorable Chagulanyi comes in. So a judicial process can review an election once evidence or information becomes available that warrants that to happen. It's not something that happens out of the exception. Because NRM put a judicial process to review what had happened in the elections, and when information becomes available which proves that either you are holding the flag illegally, you ordinarily shouldn't have had that flag after all, then a decision is taken to reverse that exercise.
And you know, when you recount,
so that happens because of the decisions and the processes that happen within the party in search of justice. That justice, there could have been problems in the evidence, because one of the problems we had as NRM is that the time that was given for the decisions to be arrived at was not sufficient enough to collect all the evidence that could have been required. And because of that, some decisions have been taken. Perhaps that wouldn't have been taken under the ordinary circumstances. And those are areas we shall get back to our people, to the party, in the respective areas to go and explain to the members of the party. And in some situations, we shall apologize to the members because of what has been happening.
But you're likely to see this time around a bigger number of independents from your own party running against you.
When we fail to dissuade them, we also believe that even after nomination, we should be able to talk to members of the NRM and explain to them the need for them to support the collective will of the people under the NRM. And in such situation, hopefully we shall...
Very briefly, so that they can let other Ugandans...
I would like also to know, I've had situations where NRM, where the decision is to recount the votes, very well knowing that people voted by lining behind the back of their candidate. So when you go for a recount, what do you recount?
Oh, you are not aware? People miss, either they use the words interchangeably to say recount to mean retally. Because after every election has been done and the results declared, there is a results declaration form which has the additions, how many people voted, how many spoiled votes were there, and the total number of voters. And this is the form which is taken to the tally center and is added up.
Yeah, but you see,
so either it is a re-addition, a retally.
Do you also have you have also spoiled votes in lining up?
When human beings are lining behind others, then you have invalid votes.
Okay, let me open the lines so that we get to know what other Ugandans think or what they have been able to see. The numbers are on your screen. Please, I have a call online. Hello.
Hello?
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 Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Seth and I'm calling from Soroti.
From Soroti?
Yes.
All right, go right ahead with your comment or question.
What Mr. Tomojo
yes.
and Madam Betty are talking about is actually wrong. The yellow attire of NRM is nowhere gazetted under military. Because we don't have any military that puts on yellow, but we have a military that puts on red attire. The red barrets that I'm talking about. The same way, FDC have people who put on blue attire, or like the blue barrets, and they have not been stopped. So, like about the yellow yellow barrett, there is no problem with it. Thank you.
Okay, maybe the Honorable Betty will respond to you at the end of this. Let me try to pick many more callers so that probably I have a call online. Hello. Okay, I'm going to drop that call because somebody is sending in an echo here. Please, just in case, if you're calling, you turn down the volume of your TV. You turn down so that doesn't send an echo here and to you. I have a call online. Hello. Hello? Okay. Please, the number's on the screen. And one other idea I'm giving you is you turn down the volume so that we can have a healthy conversation.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Hello?
Hello?
What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is my calling from Nankulabe.
Yes, you're on air, sir.
I'm on air. I'm seeing numbers, that NRM guy.
Mm-hmm.
Deceiving people because even the police today taking the Chagwani's poster at the Worksec.
Okay.
Worksec.
Yes.
And yes, they are
Even arresting women who sell.
Chagwani's poster at the Worksec. Now police deceiving that.
Okay. Thank you very much, our caller from Nakulabia there. In fact, we have also heard that they have been picking posters of the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi in different parts of the country. Perhaps.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
The ambassador of Fire Natete, omwami abali mu studio mbalamusiza bannamboze n'oyo kyale wa NRM. Nekyembadde mbagamba lwaki sizoni y'akalulu kano Museveni atidde nnyo Kyagulanyi seetamu ne tissaati eguzi bagereka mu kyane bamenya woofiisi nenda NRM esobola okwambala ovulo eza yero n'enkofiira eza yero kyenjagala okubuuza lwaki sizoni eno NRM etidde nnyo Bobi Wine bulijjo babadde tebagivuganya babujadi bagivuganya babadde katemba.
Okay, thank you very much, our caller in Natete. I suppose all the viewers have heard that. If they haven't, probably I will have to try to translate. I have a call online. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Emma from.
I'm sorry.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Emma from Tororo.
Emma in Tororo.
I'm saying that man Dombo should not overtalk about our president Kyagulanyi because he's a guy from just here, Butareja here. We are going to struggle until Bob Wine goes through.
Okay. All right. It is a competition. The man with a better persuasion will probably win the argument on the day. How I wish it is the better.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening. What's your name?
My name is Gilbert from Kasese.
Gilbert, you're on air, sir.
I would like to congratulate the members in the studio.
Okay.
And I'm a bit disagreeing with the NRM spokesperson.
Okay.
When they say that they don't know why police follows one side and leave the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It is them who are the fountain of the honor.
Mm-hmm.
The presidential statements are always the directives and orders always followed, like we have been seeing under COVID situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference that when Anita was processing, they talked and they said that is all. The other time we saw a minister whom the spokesperson claimed that they are waiting for the cabinet to handle, and later they say they are following it up. So it means some laws are meant for another group of people, then there's another group of people who are affected by the general laws of the Constitution.
Thank you so much, our caller from Kasese. Thank you, Gilbert. I'm going to take maybe two more callers, and then I'll let my guests respond and make their concluding arguments. I have another call online. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Nicholas from Kagadi.
You are in Kagadi. Your name again?
Nicholas.
Nicholas in Kagadi. You're on air, sir.
Yeah. What I wanted to tell this guy of NRM that every time they're trying to overpraise people from opposition, but the issue is to have a free and fair election, but this election will not be fair if they can continue conducting things like this.
Nicholas,
we are overpraised and we need freedom.
Nicholas in Kagadi, I want to thank you so much. My producer is telling me there are quite a number of you who would want to make contributions and maybe comments or questions, and I am tempted to take just one more. Of course, I will not take all of them, all of you. It will be a question of time. It's not that I don't want you to express yourself. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Evening to you. I'm Wegulo Sadala.
I'm sorry?
Wegulo.
Wegulo, you're on air. Please go right ahead, sir.
I'm calling from Busia.
Yes, you're on air, my friend from Busia.
Yes, I want Honorable Dombo to explain more.
On what?
Honorable Dombo to explain more about vote, again, recounting, because there is a question which Honorable Numbers asked.
Okay, on the recounting. Is that all? The problem is that you are listening to yourself, so you wait for the echo and then you just say something. If you are listening to an echo, you ignore the echo and you just make your statement. And so the very last call online. Hello. Hello? You are our last caller. Hello? Okay. Looks like...
Hello?
Yes. Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Tony Muko from Nadia.
Tony, you are in Nadia. Okay, you're on air.
I want to thank Dombo, a father to my OP Moses Dombo, for the good deliberation. I support his point on retallying, because even court, what court does is to retally. They have the DRF forms, they look at the number and the voters that voted, whether they tally with the people on the DRF form. So I support that idea.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm closing the calls now. I think you had many questions, or they're not questions. People, some quite a number are not agreeing with you, but at least the last person is very happy with the...
Well, this, I must comment that this phone segment
is not very friendly.
Creates an advantage. You see, when you bring in 3 people, and then 2 are from the opposition, only 1 from NRM, the time allocation is skewed.
Different parties.
Is skewed.
Maybe NRM.
And when they ask many questions, you
each party has 1 person here.
Maybe NRM is more than 1 party.
But I think the question from Wegulo Sadala about retallying has been answered by Tony from Nadia. It's a question which many people have been asking, that whenever they say they are going to recount, what exactly do they recount? Purely recounting is the retallying. They go and get the DRF forms where they exist and they re-add. But even when the DRF forms exist, even the tally sheet, people can enter the box for Namboze and write on Semuju and enter Semuju's marks and write them on Dombo, depending on whom they would have loved to favor because of the fraudulent conduct of videos.
Honorable Dombo, recounting and retallying are 2 different things.
Could be we shall be saying retallying, but whenever they say retallying, I mean recounting, they mean retallying, because where you have voted by lining and people have gone away, there is no way you go back to recount. Then Nicholas is saying that if you overpraise people from the opposition, it is not good, and they should, it is something that should be stopped. And this is something that should be told to the police perhaps, so that they know that it is not good for them to keep at times applying the law selectively. It is not in anybody's interest, and creates us a big problem, especially for us who speak for the party, because at times they imagine we're in cohort, even when we don't know that the police is going to be doing that. But I want to tell you, Mr. Kamara, anybody who witnessed the conduct of the primaries in the NRM, for instance, in Katakwi, we had police and they use mishandling the government stock. And they mishandled the equipment and shot and killed an innocent woman. If this had been a meeting of the opposition, many people would have thought that that woman was shot because she belonged to FDC. When police are reckless and they mishandle their equipment, whether they do it to NRM or to FDC, it is just bad conduct. Because the people who were killed in Isinjiro, people, a woman who was killed and those who were injured in Katakwi, and the woman who was killed in Magamaga by soldiers who were trying to disperse people, they killed an NRM supporter. So it's not that police only mishandles the opposition, especially when they mishandle, when they act recklessly. So together we must condemn the reckless conduct of the police, even when, and perhaps vote for more money for them to do better training, to be able to handle well their equipment and know how they should apply the law. But also, when you get a person like Honorable Semijunganda confessing that because the Owino market has very many people, perhaps they observe or they don't observe SOPs, and he will say, even me, when I'm going for nomination, I'll do this. It may put the police in a situation where they may fail to do fair judgment, and they may mishandle an individual or a member, even when ordinarily they should have been giving respect to a person of Honorable Semju's stature. There is somebody who is saying that Dombo should not talk about our president. I want to tell you that when the Honorable Kyagulanyi was in the music industry doing his private business, I don't think I ever even mentioned his work, his name, apart from dancing his music. But once he chose to join the public realm and sought to be elected, and he's being paid a salary by government to do work in parliament, he must be talked about. And if it is true that he's going to offer himself for presidency and he gets nominated, then I wonder what type of person would this be who says Honorable Kyagulanyi should not be talked about. He must be proud about it. If I was the one, I would have been proud, especially if nobody has come here and abused the Honorable Kyagulanyi. His complaint would have been if any of us referred to Honorable Kyagulanyi in a demeaning manner, which none of us would be capable of doing. That would be the only problem. So I want to call upon my brother to know that once Honorable Kyagulanyi took up responsibility and joined the public office to represent us, and even announce his aspiration to contest for the president of Uganda, definitely people are going to talk about him, and even on social media people talk about him. I don't think there is anything wrong about that. Lwaki season yeno abe NRM wa mwa Museveni atide nyuma Kyagulanyi atya fa abe NRM sife twaleta covid yajja buzi ne twesanga ati mu America covid yakote Trump. Mu America bagenda kulonda tedirale ne Trump abadazi kuba kati naye alinya waggulu eri nazogerera mu eri mwami Biden takubalale isi yakula kakati njagala omwami yagalo tegere nti obulwadde bwe bujja n'embeera nejjawo mu kyalo waliwo ebintu ebibeerawo naye nga tekuba kutya tikwe kuba kikuleese. I don't know whether it is allowed to do a Uganda program, but since somebody
it is important, somebody
had asked in a similar language, and I had to do the explanation.
Yeah, that's right.
So that he may understand what is happening.
That's all okay.
But all said and done, let me say this. During the NRM primaries, the Secretary General, the Right Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, did make specific appeal and declaration. He wondered why the police was selectively treating ministers differently during the elections, and wondered whether the police was being compromised by the ministers. She personally directed and said, why are the minister being arrested? And because of that, Honorable Anita had to take off from Marua and go into hiding until she went back to make a statement, police, and explain and apologize actually to the people of Uganda. Because of what she had done. So the
punishment can be a caution and then apologizing?
Because of what she had done. But let the Inspector General of Police know that ordinarily the people who speak for the police, the people who speak for the ruling party, especially when we associate with the police, we shall have difficulties in explaining some of the selective situations that may be difficult to explain unless information is provided to us.
Okay.
And this is the challenge that
Thank you. All right. You had more maybe things to respond to. The other colleagues didn't have many. So, Ibrahim, your response and the concluding remark.
Each election that you go through as a country should have been an improvement. You should seek to improve. This country, Mr. Museveni will need to leave it a better country than he found it. If you take advantage of a calamity to impose a restriction that you have been imposing using the Public Order Management Act, and now you are blaming COVID, nobody's going to believe you. And first of all, I am one of those who have been saying this. I mean, COVID is a problem, and I don't want to deny it exists. But the moment you begin selectively applying COVID rules, you are inviting people to begin violating them. I can only make an appeal, both to Mr. Museveni, but also to the institutions of the police, security agencies. Please don't create exceptions. Because the moment you do it, you are inviting all of us to because you see, we are competing. There is no way I'm going to allow NRM to give itself advantage. They can only stop me. If NRM people can organize elections, have processions, and I am competing with them, I'll be a very stupid candidate to say, because of COVID, then I shouldn't offer myself. If we take a risk as a country that this election is, then it means we all must risk together. It is not only going to be NRM that will risk for Kamara is inviting me to stand above them. No, I offered myself as a candidate and I am seeking to win this election. So please, police and you NRM, don't tempt us. Let us be subjected to the same rules and we will respect them.
All right. Honorable Nambozi.
Yeah, I want to observe that it is even an absurdity where you find security organs using a lot of force to enforce SOPs and in the process kill people, even before COVID has killed anybody. You see, at the very beginning of this COVID problem, at one time we had more Ugandans who had been killed by the security agencies, and none, that time when we had not lost anybody to COVID, but the forces were killing Ugandans. I gather that the biggest reason why we are enforcing these regulations is we want our people to be okay, to be fine, to be well, not to get sick. So if you are protecting my health, then why do you endanger it through the enforcement of these regulations? I want to request Honorable Dombo, maybe you sit with some of these people. Can we take it, if we all agree that yes, if you moved in a convoy, that was an offense. If you did this, that was an offense. Can we take it that the punishment for moving in a convoy in Uganda is to be tear gassed, beaten, pushed under the truck? So if at all we are breaking any law, us or another person, why don't you indict people, summon them to courts of law, and then charge them? Why should the army, why should the police go on rampage and beat up every person including people in the neighborhoods, like at my place there. I had to go to my neighbors' homes today to apologize just because Betty Namboze sleeps in that area and Njogezi zone. Today, the police invaded the same area and threw tear gas in people's houses. And then I also want to ask Honorable Dombo to consider the situation of a poor woman in Kampala who sees that people these days buy ballots, the red ones, or other paraphernalia of the party of NUP, uses her smaller capital and puts these products in her stock. And then you arrest her, take her to police for trading in red items or in items believed to be symbols and paraphernalia for a certain political party. That is quite very unfair. If you want us to compete, let's compete. If President Museveni is not willing to compete, I think there is also a better way of doing it. He already has the majority in Parliament, and I'm not kidding over this. If Mr. Museveni thinks that it is an offense to compete with him, that Betty Namboze, Kyagulanyi, Semuja, and everybody else becomes an enemy of the state of Uganda for standing in an election against his preferred people, let him wake up one day. Even these kingdoms of Buganda, Bunyolo, and everywhere, we are just constituted. Declare a monarchy here. And let no, yes, you say, we are a monarchy. The loyal families, Mr. Kaguta Museveni and his clansmen, and then you let Ugandans to deal with it. But you call people to compete in an election. You beat them up. In the last election, I almost lost 6 boys.
Okay.
And you know,
yeah,
even this time, already people are dying. I want also to request Ugandans. Today, it occurred to me that it's time we tell Ugandans, the stakeholders in this country, religious people, elders, you know, everybody, the civil society, that I think it is within our means and proper for us as a country to demand for a free and fair election this time. For an election that is better than the one we had in 2016. The indifference we are exhibiting as Ugandans is so worrying. You cannot have a police that gets up and beats people so terribly in front of everyone, you know, in broad daylight. These people grab men's pants, you know, and do all sorts of havoc on our people.
Okay.
I want to request Dombo, go and tell your boss that Namboze is of the opinion that you are so great a person, you and not your children and grandchildren, just to declare yourself the loyal family in Uganda, and then gono yagalanga gono wangako kubukulu that Namboze you can be a Muluka chief somewhere.
So
Mr. Kamara,
very briefly, sir, so that
Namboze doesn't know that when I was in Parliament, I moved the motion at one time to investigate the conduct of the police because of things that were happening. And Parliament is the right place that you should be asking these questions instead of coming here on the meeting.
What happened to your motion?
When I last asked the question, I ended up sitting in a wheelchair.
Because
what happened
in
to your
Parliament,
motion?
they have the Minister of Internal Affairs, they have the committees of human rights, they are paid money to go ask those questions, and Parliament shall make laws for the good governance and whatever.
Dombo, you are better than that. You are better than that.
Instead of coming to
the Dombo, I know is better than that.
Yes, I know, but you're a member of Parliament. Raise these issues on the floor.
Honorable Dombo,
call the Minister of Internal Affairs.
The Committee on Human Rights
the
Committee on Human Rights went to inspect a safe house run by Kaka, and they chased them.
And that's why he was sacked.
But that was after how many years?
No, you see, there are processes through which certain things must be done, but nobody should condone any criminal conduct by any security organization. Nobody should condone selective treatment of offenders by any judicial or security organ, because this is a democracy. But also, we have civic responsibility to abide by the laws. Whether you are a leader of the opposition, whether you're a member of the opposition, whether you're a member of the NRM, that is our civic responsibility that we must all abide by. But you have the information you have given me. I'll mention it to the Minister for Internal Affairs when I meet him, so that when she comes to the Parliament, make sure you ask the hard questions.
Why don't
so that he can provide the answers.
Thank you.
Leave the minister. Tell Mr. Museveni, don't burden the minister.
Ibrahim, and I want to thank you, Honorable Betty Namboza, and all of you. We want to thank you for your great company. You know, Uganda is going to be there even after 2021, after the election. It's better that we can always compete, but with respect, and we should also respect the divergent opinions, because we can never, all of us, agree on the same things, but at least we can disagree with respect as Ugandans. Good night and God bless Uganda.